We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast for Action Vision Team Coaching. And if it seems like we're going over a lot of information in a very short period of time, the reason it seems that way is because we are. If it seems like I'm frustrated, the reason it seems like I'm frustrated because I am. But no worries, because there's three elements to frustration. It's how hard we work, how much we care, and our level of expectation of ourselves, systems, and others. So what happens is when I get frustrated, I work harder, care more, increase my level of expectation of myself first, and then systems, and then others. And what does that do to everybody around me?
Frustrates them too.
Right. Is that a good thing, Stephen?
Not usually.
Really? Why not?
It's good for an entertainment value, but for productivity, not.
Who's entertainment?
Probably mine.
So you guys might be able to help me. Do you guys have you ever known somebody that wasn't a good listener?
What'd you say?
Right? Oh, that was a joke. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Copy that. So Stephen, have you ever known somebody that wasn't a good listener?
Yes.
Okay. Homer,
Yes.
Jerry,
Very good answer.
Jemima.
Yes.
Okay, Jemima. Okay. So have you ever known somebody that thought they were a good listener, but they weren't?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So have you guys ever run into a situation where women get frustrated at you because they don't think you're listening to them? Like you're not paying attention to what they're saying? Men?
It's very frustrating
To whom?
to the one being ignored.
Okay. So if you're a woman and you think a man is, he's not listening to you, he's not paying attention to you, what advice would you give to that woman?
Listen to what he's actually saying.
But you're not listening. Like the woman, so like but the man thinks he's listening. Like I'm listening. And it's like, okay. So the woman is like, he's not listening to me. Like he's not listening to me. What advice do I give to that woman?
Depends on what role she plays in his life.
I was hoping for a simpler answer.
Because I know how mean the women were when I worked in the trailer factory.
Interesting.
They substituted X-Lax for chocolate. Did all sorts of mean things to the men one week that wouldn't bring to their potluck, but
So with me, like 1 to 10, how direct would you guys like somebody to be with you? Stephen, 1 to 10, how direct would you like somebody to be with you?
oh, let's say an 8.
And Homer?
15.
And Jerry?
Over 10.
And Paul? And Jemima?
20. Sorry.
Um,
Yeah, good solid 10.
Okay. So if the truth will set us free, that means that if we don't have 100% of the truth, if we have 90% of the truth, we're 10% enslaved. Now, just because somebody shares something with me doesn't mean that it's 100% true. It just means it's their perspective. And so it seems like when my grandfather, you guys have heard this about my grandpa Boersman when I was 8 years old. And he said, Mark, when somebody tells you something, there's some amount of truth. It could be 1%, 99%. You know, it's not up to them to determine what percentage of truth it is. It's up to you to determine what it is and what you're going to do with it. I have found that as I've gotten older, that the more defensive I get about something, the more truth there is about it. Why do you think teams aren't honest with one another?
They don't want to deal with conflict.
And what happens in those situations?
Somebody always feels hurt.
So do you accomplish what you want to accomplish by avoiding the conflict?
If you're an ostrich,
Other thoughts?
Say that again.
So, like, why don't teams go ahead and why aren't they honest with other people? With other people on the team. And Steven said, because people are afraid of conflict. Then I said, okay, does that work out? And he says, somebody always gets hurt. So in avoiding the confrontation, does that actually work?
No.
It doesn't seem to me that it does. And so I think the way to, it's just tell people what it is. If you said, Mark, does that work for you? I mean, I don't have many friends, so yes, it works perfectly for me. And so, questions or thoughts?
there's whole studies on conflict and people's different resolution methods.
So let's just use Stephen and I'll role play. So let's just say, Stephen, let's just pretend that I'm frustrated with you because I don't think you're listening to me. Let's just say that. If I say to you, Stephen, I don't think you're listening to me, how are you going to respond?
What, did you say something to me? No.
You've already used that joke once.
Well, I'm not feeling great. So, I would probably respond, I'm sorry. What was the question?
Well, I just don't think that you're listening to me. What I'm telling you, it's not a question so much as I'm giving you directions or I'm training you or I'm communicating something to you. I don't think you're paying attention. You're listening to me. If I say that to you, what are you going to say?
What did I miss? Or do you want me to repeat back what you said?
Okay. So I am not nearly as direct as what I'd like to be because my experience in being direct with people is it doesn't work. My experience in not being direct with people is it works even worse. So, Homer and Jemima, both of them, they seem to be direct. Like, here's what it is. And so how do we build a culture in the team where people can just be direct with one another? Homer, any ideas? Paul, any ideas?
That's a good question. I wish I had the answer.
Jemima, any, any thoughts you have?
My mind runs a lot of ways, but I'm not sure which way to answer. So
My mind runs a lot of ways. I love that. So Jemima, I think, is going to be of a similar personality as me. So would it be fair to say, Jemima, that you have some negative experiences when you're honest with people? Is that fair to say?
yes,
And so, it doesn't seem to work when you're honest, but it doesn't seem to work when you're not either. So, Jerry, any ideas?
No.
Stephen, any ideas?
Well, it makes me think back to a class I took on dealing with conflicts in religious congregations. And part of it was to find out how the unit took care of a conflict based on your own personal style. Some churches will ignore something till it goes away. Others will deal with it or do face front. And usually what's left are the survivors don't realize there was a conflict.
So the amiable in dealing with conflict, what they will tend to do is they will tend to avoid it, or they will tend to
Walk
talk
away.
behind people's backs. They will undermine it, poison it. So they don't like dealing with it in the forefront. It's like poison underneath the stuff. The analytic personality will tend to go ahead and become a sniper, and the word is niggle the person to death. So niggle is a real word, and it's petty, it's little things. So that they'll do is they'll say, well, that's not quite right, that's not. So they destroy people because they're just like all these little tiny itty bitty things that it's like really. So they exhaust people with the little tiny things, and that's not when the thing isn't the thing. How do you figure out what the thing is? Like, how do you fix it at the core? It's just brutally hard. The expressive will tend to go ahead and hit it with drama. A lot of drama, a lot of energy, a lot of drama, a lot of stuff. And, the driver personality, they're just like a tank. They'll just run you over. So if you have a tank coming at you 30 miles an hour, what do you do?
Move 6 feet to one way or the other.
Right. You get out of the way. You don't go ahead and try to explain how what they think is out of control is not out of control. They will run you over. They will squish you. You don't explain to them the details. You help them have perception of control. Like if you just say, I perceive that maybe something's out of control. So the driver personality will tend to be most sensitive to when things are out of control. They will see it before anybody else does. So none of the other three personalities will not see things are out of control nearly as fast. The driver will see things are out of control. Anybody know why the driver hates things being out of control so much?
Affects their direction.
What?
It affects the direction they're going.
So it does impact their goals. So it reduces the probability of achieving the goal. People are going to have to work harder to achieve the goal. So it does do that. I think the number one reason is the driver hates when things get out of control is it seems like to the driver that they have to clean up everybody else's mess, and they just get tired of it. So they'll warn the amiable, like, you need to address that issue with that person. No, it'll just be fine. And it's not. And it comes up in another thing. So in the future, today is yesterday's future and tomorrow's past. So what happens is if we don't understand these things, well, this is not going to go well for us. And so the driver personality, they can tell you when things are going to happen before they happen. If you don't listen, it's going to blow up. And often the driver has to go ahead. They feel they have to come in and clean up the mess. Just in the last year, it seems to me that the amiable is like, a pyromaniac. Like, they set fires and then they're the firefighter. And so they create a lot of conflict. They're super nice people, don't get me wrong. But the amiable, it seems like they create a lot of conflict, and then they can come in and they can be the nice guy. So it's like a firefighter who sets fires and then comes in, puts out the fire, and say, look at me. And the driver is the one typically that gets blamed for everything because they don't care. I don't know. They got broad shoulders. The analytic, it's almost like, do you like when things aren't done properly? And it's almost like the analytic does, because then they can come in and they can be the hero. The driver or the expressive, they like when things are boring, because then they can come in and be the hero, and they can be the center of attention. And this is why the driver personality just doesn't like people. They just don't like being around them. Anybody else have anything else you'd like to accomplish today? So, Nora helped me to understand. I think we covered this last week. Maybe not, but I think we did. Nora helped me to understand that I am a terrible team builder. And then Elaine helped to reinforce that. Would any of you readily agree that you said when you first met me, you said, I bet you that guy doesn't know how to build teams? Is this something you guys have all been aware of and you just haven't told me in the past? Mark, you suck as a team builder. Are you guys all aware that I'm not good at that?
I wasn't aware, but I was aware that I suck as a team builder.
You and I together, we're buddies. So I never even thought of it. I didn't even think of it. And nobody's ever asked me, Mark, how good of a team builder? I mean, I built teams, a lot of teams, and they've been really successful. But when Nora at the Coffee Connection, and then afterwards in the debrief, and she's not, she's tired and everything. I'm like, why are you here? And she's like, we're a team, Mark. And I'm like, well, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a whole lot of sense. But why aren't other people here? And so I think that there are certain people among us that are too good of team members. And those people are often terrible team builders, because what they do is they do the work. What I did is I put together a team building survey. So, do you desire to be part of a team, 1 to 10? Do you want strong team members beside you, 1 to 10? Are you a good team member yourself, 1 to 10? Have you ever been part of what you would consider to be a good team? And so Nora is fascinating to me. And so when she was 14, when I asked her, have you been part of good teams? And she said, yes, a few. I said, what's one? And she says, well, my first job at Blue Gate Restaurant, I was a busser. And it's like, and there were 4 of us that bus tables. And when one of us was gone, it put pressure on the other 3. It really gunked us up. And I got to thinking, I've never had that happen. Well, my approach is different. I've had numerous people, like when I went into the, mortgage industry as a loan officer, the marketing manager, nice guy, but he didn't know didn't know how to help me. So what did I do? I replaced him. I took his job because I don't know, because he was a nice guy, but he just didn't do that good of a job. The vice president of sales, super nice guy too, but I took his job. So when people aren't good, I just replace them. I just take their job. This is not good at team building. And so if we sent this over to you guys, do you think that you guys would benefit from this if we sent one over just for you guys? Would you guys, it's like, I don't know, there's 10 questions or whatever. Yeah, there's 10 questions. So it doesn't take but 5-10 minutes, whatever. Would you guys benefit from going through this?
Maybe on the 16th of April.
Right? Anybody else have any other questions? All right. So if you have questions on what we went through, I scratch my head because there's this, for me, I just like to rip the Band-Aid off, but that doesn't seem to work so well. But it doesn't work otherwise. And so if you guys have challenges with one another or other people in the team, you guys can just be direct and honest with them and just say, Mark said to be direct and honest with you and see how that works. So, my dad is a Baptist pastor growing up Christian. They're very strong in saying the truth in love. I don't like when people say that. I know it's in the Bible and I get it. I'm not saying that I disagree with it. I just want the truth. Because when you add the love in there, it seems to go ahead and put restrictions on it. Like it seems to go ahead and put, like, you have to present it just to me in just the way that I want it. Because if you don't go ahead and present it in just the way I want it, the right tone, the right place, everything, if you don't do exactly the way I think you ought to do it, I'm going to say, you know what? You didn't do it in love. And it's like, copy that. So I think it's easiest just not to go ahead and share the truth. Just go ahead and don't say anything. But then it's like an infection. And then it needs to be amputated. So you guys are awesome. Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Yep.
We'll see you. Bye-bye.
Have a good week.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.